This week I tried Behr Chalk Paint and Wax for the very first time, and here is my quick little review on if Behr Chalk Paint is any good. I tried it out on this mini buffet that I started on in last week's video on how to remove stain from detailed wood. See how the legs are raw wood now? I'll link that video in the description and in the card above so you can see how we got the legs down to bare wood. Before I could start painting though, I had to make a few repairs with the veneer and prep the buffet for paint. I started by cleaning the whole buffet with my favorite cleaner, Crud Cutter. Cleaning before painting not only makes it easier for the paint to stick, but it also gives me a chance to look over the whole entire piece really well. And that's when I saw how bad the veneer really was on one side. So I removed the veneer on the one side and the veneer on the back side of the door as well. Some of the veneer came off really easily with just my scraper, but for the really stuck on parts, I called in reinforcements to get it off. I'll link to my video on the easiest way to remove veneer if you're having the same issues. Then I wood-filled, scuff sanded the whole buffet, vacuumed off the dust, and wiped it all down with the tack cloth to remove any remaining dust. One last thing before I could start painting with Behr Chalk Paint, I primed the buffet with my favorite clear primer that blocks the wood and stain from bleeding through the paint. This is one thing that I definitely will never skip, but especially after removing the veneer from the side and the door, I knew there was big potential that I could have bleed through issues. So we took the buffet out to the garage and sprayed 2 coats of clear shellac all over the piece, but especially over the door and the side buffet. Then I let the shellac dry overnight. It's finally time to paint. I decided to try spraying the Behr Chalk Paint, so I mixed up the paint and then I dumped it through a paint filter and into my paint sprayer container. The color I used is this gorgeous olive green color called Truly Olive. Then I poured a little bit of water into the paint and mixed the water and paint really well. I ended up using about half of the quart of paint on this buffet. Then I sprayed a few even thin coats of the Behr Chalk Paint all over and inside the buffet, and then I let it dry for about an hour or 2 in between coats. The paint sprayed on beautifully and leveled out really nicely. I didn't have any issues with how it sprayed on at all. It also dried pretty quick, just like you would expect any other chalk paint to do. And it had really good coverage as well. I love how this paint feels when it's dry. It feels softer and less gritty than most chalk paints do. After everything had a chance to dry for a couple of hours, I brought it out of my spray booth to sand and distress it. I used my favorite sander, the Surf Prep sander. I love their foam pads that make it possible to use the power sander on curves. The goal was to distress the edges a little bit so I could see the wood on the details, but I also wanted to sand everything down just a little bit to make it even more smooth. I used the 1/2-inch foam pads and fine grit to distress and sand everything down. Then I vacuumed off all of the dust and used a tack cloth to finish getting off any remaining dust. To really test out the Behr Chalk Paint, I decided to test out the Behr Wax to seal the chalk paint. I used the wax brush that I had on hand to brush a small amount of wax all over the chalk paint. It brushed on easily and really added some depth to the chalk paint, just like I would expect any wax to do. I worked in small areas, and after I brushed the wax onto the smaller area, I brushed the wax in the same direction to help avoid weird streaks when it dried. The Behr Wax is just a little bit harder than some of my favorite soft waxes, but it definitely isn't too hard by any means. My favorite thing about it is that it doesn't have a strong smell like some other brands of wax do. To stain the legs, I used some Annie Sloan dark wax and another wax brush that I had on hand. I love using dark wax to stain raw wood, especially legs like this. By the time I was done with the legs, the wax on the rest of the buffet was dry and ready to buff. I just used a lint-free rag to rub over the wax just a couple of times. You can feel the wax go from being a little bit sticky to being nice and smooth. I also tried to rub the wax in the same direction to help avoid streaks again. Here's how the buffet looks now. I love the contrast of the stained legs with the olive green chalk paint. I also cannot wait to use Behr Chalk Paint again. I think it's a great option, especially when you can save $10 to $15 per quart compared to some of my favorite chalk paint brands. If this video is helpful, please hit those like and subscribe buttons to see more. Thanks!